Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel, Lady D Psychic. So this will be my video on Elvis Presley. So I thought it'd be fun to do a video on him, on his astrology chart. Since it was his anniversary of his passing, was actually last week. It was on the 16th of August, 1977. So I thought we'll look back at his life. So we'll look about his career, his love life, his health, his struggles, even maybe his spiritual side, and we can see what we can see in his chart to understand the way that his life was. So, he was the most iconic people in, I guess, in people's lives. So he passed away before I was born. But we'll go to the chart and we will see. I have done my research on some of these transits, and it was an interesting transit that he had when he passed as well. I would like to see if I can see that in the chart, and I can see that in the chart. But let's go to the chart and we'll start delving more into the life of Elvis Presley. So let's have a look. So this is Elvis Presley's chart. So got that he was born on Tuesday, the 8th of January, 1935. So at 4:35 a.m. That's what I found on the internet. So that's the chart that I'm using. So Elvis, he was an ascending Sagittarius, and I have said in my other chart videos that usually you see actors and actresses have an aspect of Sagittarius or Gemini, but usually it's like more Sag, and he is an ascending Sagittarius, so that's where he's very charismatic, he's larger than life personality. He become across as very adventurous, and then also his stage presence as well. That's all part of the ascending Sagittarius. So he is also got the moon in Pisces, the sun in Capricorn. So he was very structured. He has a lot of interesting aspects in his chart. So even when we go into the IC, so the IC is to do with the family. I'll just go do a little bit about his personality. So with being in Capricorn, he'd be very organized. He could be a little bit rigid. He has a lot of Capricorn energy in his chart because he's got the Sun in Capricorn, we've got Mercury in Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn. So he may have been a little bit rigid. He also maybe had like a dry sense of humor. He also would have been, as I said, very structured, like highly organized as well. He would be have a strong work ethic. He also would have had this thing of like, just keep going, not to dwell on things. Don't think of himself as being a victim, but to just keep going. And he had the Pisces moon, which did soften the Capricorn a bit with him. So he may have been a bit very spiritual person. He also could have been a little bit sensitive, but he maybe wanted to hide that part of himself. He also maybe have got a little bit paranoia there with him too, that Pisces moon, but also I dare say he'd be a little bit of a emotional with him too. So we'll start off with the planets. So we got here in the second house, we have a lot of planets here. So we do have the sun in the second house. We've got Mercury. We've got a conjunct node and Venus. So his life path. So Elvis revealed a man whose destiny was tied to finding his voice, because we do have um, that north node there. We are drawn to Venus. We've also got here near Mercury, but only that too. It's also in Aquarius too. So he's not just a singer, but a soul, channeling emotions through to the world with a powerful Capricorn stallion. So then that second house here, having all these planets here. His sense of worth was built through money, finances, and fame and relationships. Yet so then we've got the third house, which is connected to do with his life path, tells a deep story. The moon in Pisces ties emotionally to his mother and his roots, while the Saturn in Aquarius reminds us of the karmic lessons around the siblings' losses and responsibility. So when you put it all together, you see a man who's carried a deep emotional sensitivity, discipline, expression, and a karmic need to revolutionize music. His songs weren't just entertainment, they were a bridge between the inner world and the collective soul. That's part of his life lesson there. Also, part of his life lesson was about humanity. It would have been about caring. It also would have been about, it'd be a thing with him, a sense of being a rebel, but then there's a sense of him wanting to follow the rules with that Capricorn energy that he has. But also with the sun in the Mercury, in that Venus. So also, so I go back to that node. So North Node there, so close to Venus. It shows a karmic lesson, learning to use his relationships and talents not just for personal gain, but to connect with the collective. So he was meant to revolutionize values around art, love, and money, which he did. We've also got, because it's in Aquarius and away from Venus, so his soul's lesson was also to be around love and relationships. It was also would have been about money. So part of his life lesson was about finances as well. So it's also been about how to share resources. Money and relationships were intertwined with his karma, with to do with his why he was here, what he was learning about in this lifetime while he was here. And we can see that with his relationships with his manager and other people in his life of being taken advantage of. So he had a lot of lessons to learn. With the sun being also here and with the Mercury and Venus all in the second house shows determination, discipline, and ambition. So Capricorn energy wants to build a legacy, and in the second house, it's all about money, possessions, and also self-worth, which is exactly what he did. So he was destined for fame and fortune. He was destined to be a singer, because he had to use his voice to, the way he earned money was about using his voice as well. Um, when I linked it up to the 10th house, which I'll get to a bit later, I've also got Mars here. So he's kind of had to be praised a bit. He also would needed to be his own boss as well. Because of that Mercury also in Capricorn, even the way he thought, the way he spoke, it'd be very he'd be all about traditions as well. So being having certain traditions would have been mean a lot to him too. And also the way even how he thought, be very structured in how he thought too. He would have been a very rigid person, but I reckon he had a bit of a dry sense of humor too. So the second house focus made on his identity, deep ties to finances and success, which were all part of his destiny. So we've also got here, with his in the life lesson, he had just these big life lessons with him as well. So he would love doing what also with Venus here, and also we know from his affairs that he had with a number of actresses that he was working with, and that would explain the Venus in the second house. So he finds a love through his work. Even the way he met Priscilla Presley was when he was in the army, so it was through his work. So the way he found love was through the work as well. He was actually drawn to women that were again that Capricorn type. So he was drawn to women that were very structured, routine, highly organized, maybe even have a good business sense, like to be a sense of him wanting to follow the rules, but being able to bend them if he can't get caught. But he'd have this like very strong sense of having to follow rules and not wanting to sort of break them as well with him. That having that Sagittarius ascending would have helped him a lot because we didn't see him as that rigid person, but yet he would have been. And I don't think we saw him as a highly organized or highly strong, but yet we did see him as being having a strong work ethic as well, especially in his later years of having to pay off debts and things. So with his third house, which is the house of siblings, it's also about communication, the third house. So having the moon in Pisces in the third house here made him deeply sensitive, intuitive, and emotional. He had a psychic dreamy side of him, and the music was his emotional outlet. So also too, but we wouldn't have wanted to show his emotions a lot. So even though he would have emotions coming out, he'd want to sort of hide them because of that, the Capricorn energy that he has. So also I feel like he was a bit of a mama's boy a little bit too, and it's the moon is in this third house. His mum to him might have come across as like they might have been like sister and brother. I also feel like with Saturn here, there may have been issues with him not having his twin here. I feel like there would have been some sort of karmic thing that he would have felt, or um, I feel like that would have brought up a lot for him. So, because the moon is tied to siblings communication, Elvis had a twin brother who died at birth, and his close bond with his mother was a legacy, was legendary. The moon here highlights on how the family emotion ties shapes to his mental outlook. I also feel like that it's just very close, and it probably had some sort of emotional bond with his mum as well, having there in that third house. So with the Saturn here in the same house brought a discipline and responsibility, but also a weight around communication and relationships. He carried a seriousness about family that never left him. But I also feel like with this Saturn here, it would have been like some sort of like karmic. I just feel like when it came to losing the brother, that somehow, even though it was as a baby, I feel like he felt that as he grew up. So his IC was so to the family. It's in Pisces. So he probably had a soft spot for his family. Also with the IC in Pisces can be a profoundly emotional, spiritual home base, home, sanctuary. So music and the sensitivity, a deep bond with his mum, as we know from the moon in that we know from his life. His roots soaked in feelings of faith. So also Graceland had a dreamscape bit like it was very dreamy in the way how he had Gracelands. It was very unique as well. So that's and he also would have been someone when it came to his family, maybe he always made leniences or maybe he wasn't strong, like he probably couldn't be a person that would stand up to his family. So maybe he let his mom or even his dad make certain rules with him. The thing is, he would have been a strong person, so I'm surprised that he got led so much by the manager because he would have been, he was a strong person. He did have a Mars in Libra, so the Mars in Libra can make you feel very calm. He probably had a very calming sense about him and not liking conflict too much. But if something wasn't fair or justice hasn't been served, then that would have made him a bit angry. So I'm just surprised with these aspects why he let the manager do what he did. And yeah, he would have been angry when he did find out. But then that strong work ethic would have come into play with him playing in Vegas and paying off all those debts too. He probably would have been quite spiritual as well, even having that Jupiter in Scorpio. He knew a lot about if it so spirituality or his or the religion that he followed too. So when we move on, we have the Uranus that was in the fifth house. It's actually close to the fifth and fourth here, so it could cross over in both. With Uranus in the fourth, it can be unexpected things happening within the family, could be also be unexpected moves as well. In the fifth house, it's all about unexpected when it comes to relationships. So also unconventional love life as well with him. So even like with him, the way he met Priscilla, it was a bit unusual. And also she was so young. So that's where we get the unusual, unpredictable, because he was an adult and she was really a child. So with Uranus here, it does explain about the love life. So he had many lovers, shocking relationships, and his impulsive nature in romance. That's all that part of that Uranus. So I feel like it did affect both houses here. So meeting Priscilla at such a young age, so it fits this. Um, and it was against the normal social, even like today's world, if you had a man in his 20s courting someone so young, it would be a bit odd. So but I guess if he's Elvis, he gets away with it. In the creative space here, so Uranus gave him the originality to and rebellion. He didn't just sing, he revolutionized performances as well. His shocking stage moves, charisma, and unique style came straight from the Uranus in the fifth house because it's all about relationships. It's also about how he presents himself. So, and how people are going to like him because his fans are still part of that kind of in an area because it's about it's tied into the work, but it's also about relationships because singers have relationships with their fans, it's how they see him, and it's how he's able to have that charisma as well, but also that he was a very different musician from the musicians there at the time as well. So also about relationships, he's DC. It's in Gemini. Someone once said to me that they felt like Geminis um were cheaters, and I didn't really believe. I mean, I could see how they could see that with his aspects, but I don't really fit Geminis as being cheaters, but I can see as their natural networking. But in when it comes to relationships, he probably needed the freedom, and he was probably a very good networker within, um, I guess, with his work and establishing sort of different connections too. But with the DC, so also this also could explain why he likes the youthful partners, or partners that are that are more youthful, curious, witty, relationships driven by conventions and mental stimulation. So he needs to be with someone as well that's also very good at communication and very witty and funny. Also indicates a duality, so long distance dynamics, two worlds, or sudden shifts in partnerships stories. I feel like for him in relationships, he needs to have that, but I feel like he needs to have that freedom. I feel like that's what that Gemini brings it in. And also, I feel like he does have that aspect of networking on how he met his other partners as well. So now we go to his sixth house. I forgot to mention his sixth house, the house of health. So with his sixth house, he does have, um, there could be health issues that he may have had throughout his life. He would have hidden them, so people wouldn't have known what was going on with Chiron in retrograde that he was born with. So, um, so it's also about like his wound here as well. So this can manifest as Chiron health struggles or difficulties maintaining a balance in daily life. So we know that he battled serious health issues later in life. This placement reflects the karmic world. So because when he passed, this is the transits, he had nothing in the health, only had Neptune in over here on this side, over this ascendant. Um, he probably had stuff, I would dare say, the year before he passed, he had health issues, but maybe they couldn't find out exactly what was wrong with him. And I feel like he maybe had medication and people maybe wasn't even agreeing with him either. So he would have been, throughout his life, there would have been health issues that weren't disclosed to the public. And then we've got in the eighth house, the house of money with other people. We've got Pluto here. So Pluto in Cancer. So he's someone that gets money, but also it sort of goes away. So it's this constant thing of like the phoenix. I would say Pluto's like the phoenix. So it comes in and then it just gets destroyed. It's can't speak. Destruction and rebuild. So money would be coming in and have to use it and then have to start again. And that's a big thing that happened in his work life. So Pluto here also shows intensity with money and power, especially money tied to other contracts, royalties, and also shared resources. So this placement explains why, despite his immense earnings, he's faced financial troubles. Others often controlled his the benefits of his money. So he let people sort of control, and that's what Pluto did. It sort of destroyed everything, but he had to sort of rebuild. And that was the whole point of him being in that Vegas when he wanted to do something different, but he got tied in. So the eighth house also adapts to depth, transformation, and fascination with death, which shaped um, both his music and also myth around his life. So he may have had an interest in that area as well. I feel like he was very much a spiritual being too. Then we've got in the ninth house, we have Neptune here. So again, he'd be very psychic. I'm surprised that, I mean, maybe he did, but I'm surprised he didn't delve into like any sort of spiritual psychic things because of Neptune being here. He would really have been very intuitive as well with Neptune being here too. So he also maybe struggled at school to learn certain subjects that he might have been a little bit slower to learn different things. So Neptune here also shows a very dreamy, mystical connection to the spirituality and philosophy as well. So Elvis was known to be fascinated with religion and also um he would have been like wanting to seek the truth or seek things about spirituality. I just really feel like that there would have been something psychic. He would have been interested in psychic abilities, or he would have had them. So I'm not aware. I know this. I know things about Elvis, but I know the main things. But I would have been interested to know if he did have a big thing in terms of spiritual. I know he was very religious. I know that much, but he just would have been very spiritual and insightful. Which again, um, questions about the manager. But then it's his life, and that was his path. Always going to remember that's their path that they led. Now, to do with his work as well, he has his MC, which is in Virgo. So part of his with his work, it's all about nitpicky being perfection too. So Virgo, public image built on perfection, craft, rehearsal, and refinement, high standards, the the audience expectation, precision, and then he delivered, often at a personal cost. So he would all be about wanting everything to be perfect. And then we've got Mars in that 10th house to do with his career too. As I said, he would have needed to be boss or praised, but he would have been a big seeker of justice. He wouldn't like things that are unfair. So Mars in the 10th house so it's about his ambition in his career. Then if he's Libra here, it puts in Libra, it might make him a little bit of a procrastinator a little bit. Not it'd be much more motivation if it was in Aries. So that might be why sometimes with the decisions that he made in his career, he may have been in two minds about. So, but it also added charisma and charm to his image. So his energy on stage was, very, very high energy. And this the Mars, it helped him with that. And also controversies as well brings in that's the Mars in the 10th house. So Mars in Libra makes a career of being attractive, stylish, also adored. As I said, I feel like there would have also been a bit of setback for him, like maybe not as motivated too. But then he would have had a very calming sense about him. Now, when we get to the 11th house, when he's got Jupiter, the planet of luck. So Jupiter here brought expansion through groups, fans, and communities. His success came through the collective. His audience adored him, and Jupiter blessed him with mass popularity. He's also would have been very popular with people and very easy to make friends with. And I dare say, once you're his friend, you probably stay there for forever, unless something big would have happened. But he would have been very popular person, as we know, but just luck with friends and social groups. So being in Scorpio gave him depth and passion, which made his following loyal and almost obsessive. But also too, again, the Jupiter in Scorpio, it's like I reckon he would have his own philosophy of even on passing over in death. He and spiritual stuff. He also would have had a knowledge maybe about things like taboo things, like I know he didn't like drugs, certain drugs he didn't like, and he probably that could have also been why with that Jupiter in Scorpio. So, um, so we've got here the Virgo energy, because we've got the Virgo in the career, that also can be tied a little bit with the health too. Also with his work, it's also tied in with relationships that he makes too, because that's connected there as well. Let's have a look here. So we've got the transits coming up. So when he passed, so this is the day that he passed, he had the Neptune over the AC. He's also got Pluto over Mars. Um, so Pluto can be, as I said, it's death. It is that transformation. So it can be death and transformation. So and over being over Mars, it could have been that it's sort of an ending to his strength too. Um, with that Neptune over the first house, so it's like the self, which is the body. So Neptune can indicate a dis a dissol like a dissolve of the ego, spiritual release, or physical vulnerability. So it's like his body and being over the AC, like his body sort of dissolved. Doesn't mean that anybody that has that transit doesn't mean you're going to pass away. This has just happened in his life. This is just his story. So please don't think that if you've got Neptune coming up your AC, I mean, I've just had that transit, I'm still here. Um, it's just interesting to see where planets were when he did pass. So he also had the Pluto over the Mars. So Pluto sitting over his Mars shows dynamic transformation in career, energy, and life force too. So this can manifest as a calculation ending or personal drive karmic closure to his public life. Also, too, having it in the 10th house, he would have gone through a lot of changes. So there would have been a constant change before that. So when that would have been at least, I'm going to estimate 8, maybe 10 years, but there would have been a big odd changes in his career with the Pluto going through the 10th house there. With the Uranus going through the 11th house, that would have been, he probably liked people who are a little bit different, unusual. He may have also had a lot of unexpected things that are happening with friends. It could have been sudden, unexpected changes with friends as well in that transit. So it also can reflect in like shocked and collective reaction to his death. That could have brought in too, as well as the unconventional nature of his legacy and influence of fans too. With that, we've also got um also with the health, yeah, the health issue I said before, he may not find out exactly what was going on with him too. He's also got Chiron in the fifth house. He probably was having issues with certain people, even his partner. There may have been relationships issues with because of Chiron in the fifth house. So Chiron transit here highlights it could be a pain of loss of joy, love, possibly reflecting on struggles with romance, creative expression, or life pressures at the end of his life as well. But Jupiter in his seventh house, that would have brought him so luck with people. If he was single, could have met someone new, or because he was big with relationships, he could have met someone new anyway. I know he was with someone when I think when he passed. So he would have met some new people with that transit. So with the eighth house, he had Pluto. Oh, so he had, sorry, Saturn going through this eighth house. So the last few years of his life, he had a lot of money issues, and it would have been hard for him. So, um, it was approaching the ninth house, so just about to go into the ninth house. So that would have been some issues he had there with money as well with that transit. I also went back in time when he broke up with um Priscilla, he actually had Saturn in the seventh house. So I can go back and just see. I think it was the seventh house or the fifth house. When I went back to have a look, we'll go back. We can have a look. I don't know, maybe when they got divorced. Um, 73. So let's have a look. That's when when it was finalized. So he got engaged to her in 1966 and had been dating for several years before that. He said they met in 1959 in Germany. So they were married in 1967 and the divorce was finalized in 1970. It was in October. So I'm just going to go October 73. Yeah, so he had Saturn going through the seventh house there, the marriage house. So he had problems with relationships. That's what caused the breakdown of the relationship as well that time. And he would have had some health issues even back then as well with the Neptune going through the 12th. He would have had also during that time changes through the career as well as he had some unexpected things happen to him over his career as well back in the 70s. So that would have been from back in the 60s as well. That's an 8. Or might even been from 65 and 65. That's Uranus would have gone in there roundabouts, and that would have, as it gone through, some unexpected opportunities would have come up for him as well, that being there. So just getting my notes together. So he did have an interesting life that he did have there. Trying to get Okay, so with some rare transits that we've got here at the time of his passing. So we did have the physical and ego dissolving with the Neptune over the more over the AC than in the first house, because the AC is like you're ascending, it's how people see you. We've also got that Chiron wounded like that creative control as well in that fifth house. We've also got I'm going to stop sharing now. So I've also got the karmic partnership energy with Jupiter in the seventh, but that would have brought something good. He would have been happy with it. Jupiter in the seventh, that would have been luck. And had he stayed alive, when Jupiter once went from the seventh into the eighth, he actually would have gotten more money as well. So he also had a completion of like life lessons around resources and legacy with that Saturn in the eighth. But also I think it was the Pluto over the Mars, and then mixed with that uh Neptune over the ascending. But it was also just a sudden thing as well. So that's just interesting. And as I said, that's just him for his life. Doesn't mean if you've got the same transits, does not mean the same thing is going to happen to you. My father passed with Uranus over his son, so something unexpected over his life. So we can't really predict death in the chart, but we can see what planets were there, and then we can link it through. Unless it's more when we physically, when we see psychically when we see it. So there we have his astrology and his lessons. We can just see that his whole life was a very karmic lesson to do with his work. And it's very sad that he died at a young age. And I feel like he had so much more to do. And, he perhaps once he was able to pay off his debt, he probably would have traveled and done. But also, too, having that Neptune in ninth house can also mean that sometimes you don't travel a lot. And he didn't travel that much. He didn't go outside of America only for the army. When he joined the army, went to Germany. So it was very, very interesting as well. So also with that Uranus into that 10th house was maybe when also he would have probably gone in the army, unexpected shifts in the career there. Would have been the Uranus going, but when it was in his 10th house, I dare say too. So there you have Elvis Presley's chart. So I hope you've enjoyed this. So you can tell me in the comments, so which part of the chart surprised you the most? So his love life, money lessons, or spiritual side too. Thank you. So thank you for watching. So thank you for your likes, shares, and your comments, and I'll see you for my next video.